E aí, pessoal? Estamos de volta para a nossa segunda parte da aula. E a gente vai assistir um outro vídeo do Bob the Canadian. E desta vez ele irá falar para a gente sobre diversão em casa, fun at home. O que você pode fazer dentro de casa para se divertir? Em inglês. Depois disso, a gente pode fazer os exercícios da página 357, 358 e 359. Agora presta atenção, lá no exercício 9 e 10 você não precisa fazer, tá? O filter practice, tá ok? Não precisa fazer o exercício 9 e 10 da página 359. Tá legal? Vamos ver o vídeo dele?
Hi, Bob the Canadian here. Sometimes as you learn English, you want to be able to describe the things that you do for fun. In this video, we'll look at several words and phrases that you can use in English to describe the things you would do for fun if you stayed in instead of going out for the night. But before we do, if this is your first time here, please subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below. Click the bell icon to get notifications when I do a live stream. And for everyone watching, if this video helps you, please give me a thumbs up at the end, and that would be great. So, you don't feel like going out. One of the first things you might do if you stay home for the evening is watch television. So we describe this in a number of ways now. You can watch television, you can watch TV, you might be watching Netflix, you might even be watching YouTube. And the place you would do this is most likely in a room that in English we would call the living room. Some people might call it the family room. Some people might call it the den, but it is the room in the house where you have most likely placed your television. On your television, you'll watch things like television shows. A show comes in a series, so if you watch a television series, it means you're watching a bunch of television shows in succession, or you could be watching a Netflix series. All of those would be appropriate words to describe it. You will most likely be sitting on your couch or sofa. You may have a comfortable chair that you like to sit in. You will have in your hand your remote control so that you can pause and go get snacks. Which brings me to the last thing. You will most likely, if you're staying in for the evening, have some snacks and something to drink as you watch your television show or a television series. You may also be watching Netflix, and a new English term that's just become popular in the last few years is something called binge watching. Binge watching is when you watch a whole bunch of episodes of a show back to back in succession. So you might watch episode 1, 2, 3, and 4 in one night, and that would be binge watching that television show. You might also be watching a film. You might be watching a movie or film. We use those words interchangeably. You may have rented a Blu-ray or a DVD, or you might be streaming the video through something like YouTube or Google Play. So those are the things, number one, those are the things you could do if you're just staying home to watch TV for the evening. Number two, the second thing you could do if you're staying in for the evening is playing a video game. So again, you could do this in a number of different places in your home. You might be playing a video game on your computer. So you might be sitting at your desk in your home office, and you may be playing a computer game on your computer. We use the terms video game and computer game kind of interchangeably. They kind of mean the same thing. So you may be sitting in your office playing a computer game. You may also be in the same room where you watched television. You may be in your living room or family room, and you might be playing a video game on a console. So a console is something like a PlayStation or an Xbox or a Nintendo Wii. So you may be playing a video game at your computer in your office. You may be playing a video game in your living room, but you may also just be sitting somewhere comfortable on your smartphone and playing a video game on your smartphone. Video games in general have things like levels, they have characters, and so as you play your video game, you try to get a high score or a good score. You try to not die in your video game, and that would be a video game where you're playing with a character, something like Mario Brothers, but perhaps you're playing something else like Candy Crush or Tetris, and in those video games, you're simply trying to get further than you did the time previous. So the second thing you might do when you're in for the evening is you might just sit down somewhere comfortable and play a video game. You might have snacks, you might have something to drink, but you certainly are just going to find a comfortable place, pull out your smartphone or your laptop and play a video game. The third thing you might do if you stay in for the evening is read. Reading is such an enjoyable activity for me. Normally, if I stay in for the night, it is my first choice of something to do. I love reading books. Another English word for book is novel. So I like to sit down with a good book or novel and just read. I have a really nice chair, a reading chair, where I like to do that. A reading chair, there's nothing special about it. It's just the chair that I like to sit in when I read. If you chose to stay in for the evening, other English words for things you could read are newspaper. A newspaper, as you can see in the picture, is a print daily edition of the news. You may also be reading a magazine. Magazines generally come once a month. And the last thing you may be reading a book on a Kindle or some sort of e-book reading device. I have just recently started reading books as e-books. I think I like real books better, but e-books as well are a way to stay in for the evening and something fun to do, read a book. The fourth thing you might do if you're staying in for the evening to have fun is to play a board game or to do a puzzle. So for instance, if you were to play a board game, you would most likely play either at the kitchen table, which is usually the largest table in the house and works well for board games, or you might play a game of cards at a special table called a card table. Either way, this requires that there's other people, and it's really a fun way to stay in for the evening. You may play games like Monopoly, you may play games like Bridge, you may be playing games like Scrabble. By the way, if you haven't played Scrabble, you should play Scrabble and try to only do English words. It's a really great way to practice your English. This is a fun way to stay in for the evening. It has the added benefit of that it doesn't cost any money. And as with everything else I've mentioned so far, it's usually fun to have some snacks while you're playing and something to go along with it. So staying in, if you have enough people in your home or apartment, it sometimes can be fun to stay in and play a game. The fifth thing that you might do if you're staying in for the evening is listening to some music. Perhaps you just want to kick back, which means to relax. Perhaps you just want to kick back and listen to some music. You may do that in a number of ways. You may have a stereo system with speakers, or you may have a radio with speakers, and perhaps you have a room in your house where you have this sound system, and you just play music and you sit back and you listen to the music with your eyes closed. Maybe you sing along, but you just enjoy listening to the music. A second way that you may listen to the music is perhaps you have a smartphone and you have headphones or earbuds, and you just plug yourself in, put your headphones on or put your earbuds in and play some music. In English, we use words like listen to a song, listen to a playlist. You may listen to a collection of music. People who are older like myself, you may listen to an album, which is a collection of music from the same artist. You may listen to singers, or you may listen to music from a band. So there's a variety of ways to describe music in English, but generally if you're staying in for the evening just to have an enjoyable evening in and you like music, you will most likely listen to some of your favorite music in one of your favorite places to sit in the house. A sixth thing that you might do if you're staying in for the evening is crossword puzzles or Sudokus or other kinds of small puzzles that you do by yourself. Crossword puzzles a lot of times come in a newspaper. Sometimes people cut them out and keep them around. You may also buy small books that have a number of crossword puzzles, word searches, or Sudokus. Now, if you're learning English, crossword puzzles and word searches are also good ways to practice your English words. You can use a crossword to get a hint. A crossword puzzle gives you a hint so that you can figure out what word goes horizontally or vertically into the puzzle. A word search gives you the list of words, and you need to circle the words in this huge box of letters. So it's extremely difficult to find them. The seventh and last thing that you might do if you're staying in for the evening to have fun is just connecting with someone else. You might sit down at your desk and write a letter using a pen and paper. You might decide that you haven't sent a letter to a friend who lives in another country for a long time. And you might sit down and you might say, "Dear John, it's been a while. I hope things are going well." If you're more modern, you might sit down at your computer and you may read an email or two from a friend, and you might decide to send an email to a friend. This is much faster. Sometimes I think that letters are a more interesting way to communicate because you need to wait. Email is very, very rapid. You might text a friend. You might take out your smartphone and text a friend. You may just go on the internet and go on social media sites like Facebook and just check to see who's up to what friend is doing what, and maybe you will instant message them via Facebook or direct message them via other platforms. So you might spend the evening even though you're not being social, you may spend the evening in socializing in a certain way by writing a letter or email or text to someone. So that's the video on things you can do if you're staying in for fun. Please remember, if you like this video, to give me a thumbs up. That would be awesome. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe to my channel by clicking the subscribe button below. Hit the bell icon if you want notifications. This is a video in a series, so I'm going to do a series of 5 videos of things you can do for fun. So look for those coming up in the next few weeks. I'll try to do one a week. Bob the Canadian here. Learn English with Bob the Canadian. I really hope you enjoyed this video and have a great day. Hi, Bob the Canadian here. It's just a little too bright outside to shoot a video, so I'm going to head up into the upstairs of the barn. We're going to talk about fun things to do when you're staying in for the night.
E aí, pessoal? Deu para curtir? Deu para entender? Aquilo que eu falo sempre, se não entendeu, volta o vídeo. Procure ouvir novamente, tirando suas dúvidas, anotando o que ele fala, tá? É muito importante você praticar o listen. Ok, pessoal? See you later, alligator!